In recent years, India's political landscape has witnessed profound shifts, both within its ruling parties and among the organizations that have historically shaped its ideological direction. Among these, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or RSS, stands as a foundational pillar, having played a pivotal role in the rise of the Bharatiya Janata Party, or BJP. Dilip Devdhar, a respected and influential figure within the RSS, has observed these changes with a keen and sometimes wary eye. His reflections on the evolving relationship between the RSS and the BJP, especially in the wake of recent political events in neighboring Bangladesh, offer a window into the concerns and calculations shaping India's current moment. Devdhar's perspective is rooted in a deep understanding of both the historical ties that have bound the RSS and BJP together and the subtle but significant ways in which those ties have loosened over time. In the early years, the RSS provided the ideological backbone and grassroots organizational strength that helped propel the BJP from a marginal force to the dominant party in Indian politics. The symbiotic relationship was clear. The BJP gave the RSS a political voice, while the RSS provided a disciplined cadre and a clear ideological compass. But as Devdhar notes, the relationship has cooled in recent years. The BJP, now firmly entrenched in power, has developed its own political machinery and priorities, sometimes diverging from the purest vision of the RSS. Policy decisions, electoral strategies, and even the rhetoric employed by party leaders have, at times, reflected a pragmatism that sits uneasily with the RSS's more doctrinaire approach. This divergence, while not amounting to an open rupture, has nonetheless created a sense of distance, a cooling, as Devdhar puts it, that has left some in the RSS uneasy about the direction in which the BJP is heading. These internal dynamics have taken on new urgency in light of the dramatic political developments in Bangladesh. There, a wave of street protests, fueled by public discontent with the ruling party's policies and perceived disconnect from ordinary citizens, led to a sudden and sweeping regime change. For many observers, including Devdhar, the events in Bangladesh serve as a stark reminder of the volatility inherent in democratic politics. No matter how entrenched a ruling party may seem, the tides of public opinion can shift rapidly, especially when catalyzed by economic hardship, social unrest, or a sense of betrayal among a party's traditional supporters. Devdhar's concern is not merely theoretical. He points to a set of conditions: rising public frustration, a perception of arrogance or complacency among political leaders, and the willingness of opposition forces to mobilize discontent in the streets that, if left unchecked, could easily take root in India as well. The parallels with Bangladesh are not exact. India's political system is larger, more complex, and more robust in many respects. Yet the underlying dynamics, a ruling party that begins to lose touch with its base, the emergence of a gap between leaders and the grassroots, and the explosive potential of street protests, are universal. In this context, Devdhar argues for a renewed sense of vigilance within the Indian political landscape. He believes that both the BJP and the RSS must take seriously the lessons of Bangladesh, recognizing that political legitimacy is not a permanent possession, but something that must be constantly renewed through responsiveness to public needs and a willingness to engage with dissent. For the RSS, this means reasserting its role as a moral and ideological anchor, holding the BJP accountable to the values and principles that have long defined the Sangh Parivar. For the BJP, it means resisting the temptations of complacency and power politics, and instead recommitting to the grassroots engagement and humility that first won it the trust of the Indian people. Devdhar's reflections extend beyond the immediate political calculus. He sees the potential for street protests and popular mobilization as both a warning and an opportunity. On the one hand, they represent a genuine threat to the stability of any ruling party that loses sight of its foundational commitments. On the other, they serve as a reminder of the vitality and dynamism of Indian democracy, a system in which ordinary citizens can and do hold their leaders accountable. The challenge, as he sees it, is to ensure that this energy is harnessed constructively, rather than allowed to spiral into chaos or violence. Looking ahead, Devdhar calls for a renewed dialogue between the RSS and the BJP, one that goes beyond mere political strategy and addresses the deeper questions of purpose and direction. He emphasizes the need for both organizations to listen to the concerns of ordinary citizens, to remain attuned to the shifting currents of public opinion, and to avoid the pitfalls of arrogance or insularity. In his view, the greatest danger facing any ruling party is not the opposition, but the gradual erosion of trust and connection with the people it claims to serve. At the same time, Devdhar warns against complacency within the broader Sangh Parivar. He urges the RSS to remain vigilant, not only in its oversight of the BJP, but in its own internal practices and priorities. The strength of the organization, he argues, lies in its ability to adapt to changing circumstances without sacrificing its core values. This requires a willingness to engage in honest self-critique, to acknowledge mistakes, and to remain open to new ideas and approaches. Ultimately, Devdhar's message is one of both caution and hope. He believes that the conditions that led to political upheaval in Bangladesh, a disconnect between rulers and the ruled, the rise of public anger, and the failure of established parties to respond, could, under the right circumstances, occur in India as well. But he also believes that these dangers can be averted, provided that India's leaders, both political and ideological, remain humble, responsive, and true to their foundational ideals. In the end, the future of India's democracy will depend on the ability of its institutions and leaders to learn from the past, to listen to the voices of ordinary citizens, and to navigate the complex and ever-changing currents of public life. For Devdhar and others within the RSS, this is not just a political imperative, but a moral one, a test of the nation's commitment to the principles of accountability, service, and genuine democracy.